What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com coming to you from SEC Media Days kickoff here in Nashville, Tennessee. Didn't do a live show last week, have SEC Media Days this week, so I thought I'd do a little walk and talk to kind of bridge the gap for you guys, take you through Radio Row here in Nashville. I can be quick to criticize sometimes. I know that. I know I can. So I want to be quick to compliment. I thought the Grand Hyatt here in Nashville did a fantastic job. Not a single hiccup through this whole event. Just did a great job. Now, we just wrapped up Arkansas coach Sam Pittman, Landon Jackson, KJ Jefferson, Raheem Sanders, and guys, to tell you, if there is one thing that just kind of stands out, I don't want to say it was dull, but it just wasn't a whole lot of action, not a whole lot of quotes. I thought Sam Pittman stole the show, which he has done numerous times, and had a lot of really great answers. You can see here is Radio Row, all the way down. Really well organized, almost hit somebody in the head there. Great food. Just did a great job overall organizing it. Nothing messed up the entire time that we were here. A lot of Arkansas media. Now, I came for the entire week just because 24/7 Sports is headquartered here. They just recently moved into new buildings, so it was nice to, meet a lot of people in person that I've done stuff with over the years. It's Randy Rainwater. Say hello, Randy, on the walk and talk. I'll be on with him here in a little bit. But I thought Sam Pittman really kind of stole the show today. He had just great answers. Just the way he naturally interacts with people. When we did our breakout interviews with him early, he was kind of saying, I still get nervous about going up to the main media room. But, after you shake that off a little bit, he turns into Sam Pittman again. And, just kind of his charm comes out, and drew some laughs. I don't really remember many coaches drawing as many laughs as Sam Pittman did, so I thought he did a great job there. One of the things that I wanted to talk about a lot is the offensive line, because we know that they have Rocket Sanders. We know he can run. We know they have the full stable of running backs. We know that they have KJ Jefferson at quarterback, but it doesn't matter how hard Rocket Sanders hits the hole if there's not one. It doesn't matter how well KJ Jefferson can go through his progressions if he doesn't have time to throw. And Arkansas has a pair of sophomore offensive linemen, Devon Manuel, Patrick Kudus, at the tackle spots. How are those guys going to develop? And so I asked a lot of questions about them, and talking with Landon Jackson a little bit, just really impressed with how far Devon Manuel has come. A guy that was 6'9", 390 pounds as a freshman. He's down 80 pounds to 310. Patrick Kudus on the other side. And it's kind of interesting because I was asking Landon about that, and he said, well, I was actually talking to Sam Pittman on the plane about what a great idea that was to move Patrick Kudus over to the tackle spot, because he said, as he put it, he's easily one of our best offensive linemen. I'm going to pop outside here. I mean, that's not all of SEC Media Days there, and it's kind of, again, winding down, so you kind of got the tamest version of it. But just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a peek. There's construction going all over this damn place. If I would say one complaint I have about Nashville, it's this crane working all night. Beep, beep, beep. I'm on the 16th floor, and that's all I hear is beeping and beeping. I'm a little exhausted because I have not been sleeping very well. I mean, everything else has been great, and I mean, there's nothing they can do about this, but is this a bridge? Yeah, that's some kind of overpass or something I guess they're working on, but that would probably be my only complaint about Nashville. Obviously, love going downtown in Nashville, and got a buddy I was able to meet up with last night from college, so it's been a pretty cool trip, coming off of a trip to Fort Collins, Colorado, which was also a really good time. But I am looking forward already to getting back home and getting back with the family. But, the offensive line, I just think that that's going to be such a key to this season. I've run through everything in my head over and over again, on plane flights and, just sitting around, of course, the normal work I do, just kind of asking myself, what is the outlook for this team? And I really feel like as a ceiling, maybe 6-2, as a floor, 4-4. So somewhere in between there in SEC play, I think it all comes down, to that 4-game stretch. If Arkansas is 1-3 in that stretch, then that's fine, I guess. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's it's just such a tough stretch. You're talking about, you know, starting off in Baton Rouge, which is my pick to win the SEC West, and then you play Texas A&M in Arlington, which hasn't been kind to Arkansas over the years. You play at Oxford against Ole Miss, and that's always, you know, kind of a shootout. Last year Arkansas obviously dominated that one, but the game is in Oxford this time, and it's earlier in the season. And then you wrap it all up with a trip to Tuscaloosa. So it's just such a brutal stretch. If Arkansas comes out of that stretch 2-2, they're a 10-win football team. If they've got the chops to go through that stretch 2-2, then they're a 10-win football team. One of the questions that people really liked that I asked Sam Pittman about today was just, you know, kind of going back to that 2020 class. There are 2 players left on the team from that class. That's insane. Those guys should be redshirt juniors and seniors. The 2021 class, and it's because of the quick turnaround that they had. You know, the 2021 class, you had you know, a lot of misevaluations in that class, and I didn't mean that any certain way. It's just you weren't able to face-to-face recruit. You weren't able to go out and evaluate, and you're talking about, you know, a staff that's still very new, and so you missed on a lot of guys. If Arkansas didn't have the transfer portal, good Lord, I mean, Sam Pittman would be like fighting for his job right now and wouldn't have the team or the players to defend himself. He just wouldn't. And so the transfer portal, I mean, in a way, if you kind of look at it this way, has probably saved Sam Pittman, because I guarantee you fans don't look at it that way. They don't look at, well, he had this disadvantage and this disadvantage. All they're going to see is it's year 4 and the team isn't very good. And they wouldn't be. They just wouldn't. And, you know, that's something that Sam pointed out. You know, with the transfer portal, they also had players leave the program and otherwise wouldn't leave. A lot of those guys just didn't have the ability to help this team. They're not here because they're not good enough to be here. And, you know, we can talk about 25 transfers and all that stuff out of this program, or maybe a little bit more. What, 5 guys maybe, where you're like, that kind of stings. Everybody else they could replace and go out and get better players. So I think for the timing of things, yeah, it was absolutely paramount. And in fact, maybe they should have done a little bit more last year, because all 8 of those transfers were major contributors for them. And I think they learned the lesson, because they brought in 19. Now, I don't think that's a solution long term. I think it is right now because of what happened in 2020, 2021 recruiting cycles. Long term, I've said many times, you know, 2010 I think is the appropriate number. 20 high school, 10 transfers is the appropriate number for a program like Arkansas that really actually needs that also to be able to boost their overall roster, because, I mean, Arkansas is not a big state. There's 3 million people. Is that right? 3 million people. It's the same size as Mississippi. Mississippi produces way more talent per capita. There's just not enough talent. They're not close enough to a lot of talent. And people say, you know, stuff all the time, Arkansas is this or that. The only problem with Arkansas, I'm gonna have to splice this together, because I had an alarm go off and it just shut my phone off. I thought I'd turned everything off, but that's the only problem that Arkansas has had. It's just its location. People say there's stigma or this or that with Arkansas. There's no difference with Arkansas than any other state in the SEC. There's not, or Texas, or anywhere else around here. It's just that one factor. There's money, there's facilities, there's investment into the program. Nobody is going on television saying, hey, donate to this because we need these new facilities. And that's lucky, because now everything's kind of shifted to NIL. You know, the facilities are there. You know, obviously there's you know, minor things that you're doing here and there. They're going to do a lot of stuff to Bud Walton Arena and stuff. You know, and they'll continue to add bars, maybe swimming pools or zip lines or something. All kinds of stuff they're trying to do to enhance the game day experience. But as far as the athlete is concerned, everything is there that they need from a facility standpoint in basically every sport. So now, you know, things kind of shift to NIL more, and NIL, transfer portal, those are really big things for Arkansas. I thought Mark Stoops had a great quote today. If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance much less. And that is absolutely true. And that's what I said, you know, on the 24/7 Sports set the other day. If you're a traditionalist, you need to learn to embrace change at Arkansas, because that's where the gap can get closed. You know, I've focused on this a whole lot in recruiting with Arkansas, and people I know say, you know, Arkansas hasn't signed these guys yet. It's not December yet. And yeah, sure, there's probably going to be a guy here or there leave or something, but I mean, recruiting has changed so much now that everything moves up so much earlier. Arkansas has 4 top 100 recruits, okay? So even if, I'm not saying anybody's gonna leave, but even if a guy left, and then they have 3, they've never had more than 1 top 100 recruit in the entire time that Arkansas, that 24/7 Sports has been ranking kids. Back in 2010, it's 15 years. They've never had more than 1 in a class, and they have 4 in this one. They have 9 4-star recruits in this class. They're recruiting SEC states. As I said, Danny West said it's best. Where do great SEC players come from? Generally SEC states. And that's with the addition of Marcus Woodson, Darren Wilson, Travis Williams, having Deke Adams still stay on board and getting some continuity there on the defensive line, which has been a problem for Arkansas over the 5 years when they kept having changes. So 9 4-star recruits. They have 16 commits right now. The most Arkansas has ever had before is 9. And that was a 23-man class, I think, in 2015. There's not a single team ranked higher. I'm not saying like they're going to be a top 10 class or anything, but like relative to what Arkansas has done in the past, there's not a single team ranked ahead of Arkansas that has fewer commits in the 24/7 Sports rankings, aside from Alabama. I think that's pretty notable. So, I never know where I'm going to go on these things, and I think that's one reason people kind of like the walk and talk. It's just kind of off the cuff. People always say, hey, you forgot to talk about this or you forgot to talk about that. Oh, it's just the track of my mind. That's just what I'm following. So I'm sure I could go on and talk about so many other things, wide receivers and defensive backs, and that's one question that I didn't get in. It's so difficult to get a question in here because there's so many reporters and stuff. I got 2 in with Sam Pittman in the main media room, but I wanted to ask a little bit more about the defensive backs and how they plan to shuffle things around there. I feel like everything else is pretty well settled. I feel really good about where they are, the defensive line, 9 seniors, a solid 3 deep. You know, Landon Jackson's the pup there who made this trip. Landon Jackson, guys, was 238 pounds after the bowl game against Kansas. 238, playing at about 75%, and apparently about 75% of his weight also, because now he is 283. So what is that, like 45 pounds? So that's astonishing, really. And he looks it. I remember, like, when looking at him, he's listed at 269 or something like that, or 274, something like that last year. I think 269 in the spring, 274 last year. And I remember thinking, man, this guy really carries 274 well. Well, he wasn't 274. That was an old weight from like LSU when his time was there. So, but that's really astonishing. But again, I really like the depth on the defensive line here. We get some interesting comments when I talk about the defensive line. People are like, oh, I've heard that before. When did you hear that from me? You didn't, because all I've talked about is the struggles they've had recruiting defensive linemen because they've had no continuity with a defensive line coach. You keep changing defensive line coach year after year after year. I think what stands out about, you know, having guys, you know, in the sense of a change with Travis Williams, Darren Wilson, and Marcus Woodson is those guys have been like, you know, they've been out recruiting guys in those territories. They have familiarity with those guys, you know, coming from Florida and Florida State, and with Travis Williams formerly being at Auburn and at UCF, you know. So I think that's where it makes a difference. But, you know, we're seeing those guys really recruit in Mississippi and Alabama. Georgia, of course, has always been a pretty big hotbed for them. So do I talk about any more offense? I mean, there's a lot of unknowns on offense, obviously. You know, this is the first year that your offensive line has more replacements than returning starters, 2 to 3. Joshua Braun has starting experience at Florida, started 7 games year before last, redshirted last year. 2 new offensive tackles, and that's going to be a big key. I really think they're going to be in good shape at wide receiver. KJ's had different wide receivers every single year that he's been at it. So I think they'll be in good shape there. I like Isaac Teslaw. I'm intrigued with Andrew Armstrong and Tyrone Broden. And I really look for Isaiah Satania to have sort of a breakout year. I don't know if it'll be I think by next year, we could really see something special with him. But I look for him to take a pretty significant leap. I mean, he had, what, 2 catches, 12 yards, something like that last year. But just based on what I saw out of him in the spring, and a lot of people could say, well, yeah, it just means the D-backs suck. D-backs could be a weak link. They could be the weak link. Even if they are they going to be as bad as they were last year? Or are they going to be the worst secondary in the entire country? I don't know about that. So I look for them to at least take a step forward, even if they are the weak link. And again, we'll see how they shake things out. I feel like they're a little more cornerback heavy. Now, the news isn't good on Quincy McAdoo. It's not going to work out most likely with him being back. So that's unfortunate. But it did sound like Pittman felt like the door was open for maybe a return to football down the road, if not this year. Everybody else asked him about injuries. Everybody else expected to be there for the spring, including Dominic Johnson, rooting for you, big guy. I mean, you know he's been through it. So maybe the record for the longest walk and talk. I had the alarm go off and it stopped it in the middle, so I don't know how long ago, but I usually like to go 10 minutes, give or take, and I think I might be at about 14 or 15 now. So I am going to wrap it up. I got to do drive time here in a second, but I appreciate you guys for enjoying the walk and talk and giving us a thumbs up and a like or whatever else on it, whatever platform, and commenting below and telling your friends and your papaw about it. Papaw doesn't know about, he doesn't know about the walk and talk. He doesn't use YouTube. He's not an internet guy. Show him. Get your phone out and show it to him. You don't have to send him a link. Let him watch it. Show your buddy. All right, everybody, I appreciate you. Yeah, that's it. All right. Go to HawgSports.com for all your SEC Media Day stuff. Curtis Wilkerson, Andrew Ellis, Danny West have been blowing out coverage, and I've been doing my best to help out. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.